The equation for density is the density equals the mass divided by the volume. So you can see here there's three variables or three things that we can solve for. We can be asked to find the density, right? And if we find the density, then we will be given mass and the volume. So then we just plug in because the equation's written that way. They could also ask us to find the mass. And if they do that, then the given would be the density and the volume. And then finally, and this is what the homework problem is asking, you can find volume. And so when you have to find volume, you're given the density and the mass. So I think it's question 6 on our Chem 1025C homework, 5 or 6. But anyway, on one of the questions in our homework, they ask us to find volume given the density and the mass of the substance. So what's going to be required is for us to rearrange the equation for density here. So instead of saying density equals, we need it to say volume equals. So I'm going to use some numbers here to plug in just as an example and show you how we would go about rearranging the equation. So if we know density equals mass or volume, and the problem has given me a density of 0.929 grams per milliliter, and then it has given me a mass of 15 grams. Now I'm making up these numbers. I'm actually looking at your textbook in the end of chapter questions on question 65, but your numbers could be different than this. So what I can do is I can plug in these numbers into the equation and rearrange. So I'm going to replace density here and mass here. So it would be 0.929 grams per milliliter, and that's going to equal 15 grams divided by volume. Now, if you notice here, volume is in the denominator. So we have to make our equation using algebra not have volume on the bottom, but we want it to say volume equals. So this is what you do if the volume is being divided by. So what I can do is I can multiply both sides by volume, and that cancels. And if I do that to one side, I have to do it to the other. So now on the left-hand side, I have volume times 0.929 grams per milliliter equals 15 grams. Another way you might have thought about it, let me go. Another way, sometimes how people approach it, is they think about it, or maybe they were told to think about it like you're cross multiplying what's on the bottom to the other side. So you cross multiply it, and that gives you volume times 0.929 grams per milliliter. So that might have been how you were told. It's the exact same idea, but sometimes people use different language, like they just cross multiply it over. Or you can think about it as you're canceling it. Now, then we get to this back looking here, volume, we still do not have where it says volume equals. So to get the density, since it's multiplied on this side, we'll divide by this. That cancels it. And then whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. And so now I have what I can solve for, which is this. So now if I look at it very carefully, what I have written is volume equals 15 grams. Oops, sorry. 15 grams divided by 0.929 grams per milliliter. And so now I have two numbers. So I'm going to take 15 and divide it by 0.929. And I get 16.14639. The units grams cancel. This is in milliliters. Now if I look back at my data, the 15 has two significant figures, and the 0.929 has three significant figures. So I'm going to go with the one that's the fewest, 2. So I'll take 16. So then my answer would be 16 milliliters. So it takes a little bit of work to rearrange, especially when you have your unknown in the denominator. But this should give you a place to start. And an important thing will be to practice this, because we have to solve problems oftentimes where we're given two things and we have to rearrange to find the third thing. Now I want to show you one other thing, and that is you can always rearrange the equation before you plug it in. So if I wanted to rearrange this to solve for volume, I would multiply this side, the right side, by volume, so this cancels. And whatever you do to the right side, you have to do to the left side. So I'd multiply it by volume. So I'd have volume times density equals mass, because I really have moved volume from the right-hand side to the left-hand side. Then if I wanted volume, well, this right here, if you look at it before, I just caught my mind. This right here would be how we would calculate if we wanted to find mass. But if I wanted to find volume by itself, then what you do is I would divide it by density. That cancels. And if I divide the left hand by density, then I would divide the right hand by density. And I end up with volume equals mass divided by density. And if you look back to what I did when I plugged in numbers, which is right here, that's what I have. I have volume equals mass divided by density. So I hope that helps at least get you going in the right direction with your problem. If you have any trouble or end up getting an incorrect answer, please let me know, and I'd be happy to try to help you figure out what's going on. Keep up the good work.